Imagine living in a world where people can summon magical weapons from their own soul, but you're the only one who can't. That's the life of Ikki Kurogane, a student at an academy for magic users. Even though he's one of the best swordsmen around, he's treated like an outsider because he doesn't have magic like everyone else. Ikki explains that at this school you're either born gifted or not. If you're gifted, you rise to the top. If you're not, you get used to being ignored. Even though many students know who he is, most look down on him just because he lacks magic. In this world, people called blazers can form weapons from their soul and use them to fight. The strongest among them are chosen to become magic knights, which is still Ikki's dream. Even though his magic score is basically a 0, after some solo sword training, which honestly looks pretty impressive, Ikki heads back to his dorm, but the moment he walks in, he accidentally sees a girl changing. And not just any girl, it's Stella, a literal princess from another country. And in a moment of panic, he lifts his shirt to show off his abs just to make it fair. Probably not the smartest move, but hey, points for trying. Stella is furious. She yells at him, calls him names, and nearly explodes. Ikki quickly apologizes and says he couldn't look away because she was too beautiful. Somehow that actually calms her down a little. Then the school director walks in and casually drops the news that Stella and Ikki will be roommates because there's no one else weak enough to pair with him. Ikki is stunned. Stella is even more upset and demands a new roommate. She wants full control of the room, no discussion, so the director offers a solution. A duel winner gets the room. Loser has to obey the winner's words for the rest of their life. Word spreads fast, and soon the whole school gathers at the training arena. Everyone's excited to watch the lowest-ranked student face off against the strongest. Before the duel begins, the headmistress steps in to explain the rules. Ikki summons his sword and gets ready for battle. Stella does the same, and when she calls out her weapon, a huge tornado of fire surrounds her. It's called Dragon's Breath, and it burns at around 3,000 degrees. She charges at Ikki, but he dodges the first strike. She warns him that if the flames had touched him, he would have been burned alive. Even though Stella has powerful magic and Ikki has none, he doesn't back down. His swordsmanship alone is enough to hold his own. Stella starts to get nervous. She can't believe someone ranked so low is keeping up with her. While they fight, Ikki explains that no one ever taught him how to fight. Instead, he studied the techniques of high-ranked blazers and learned to counter their moves. This skill is known as situational analysis. But even with that, his sword can't break through Stella's flame armor. She prepares a finishing move, planning to end the duel, but Ikki doesn't give up. He starts thinking about why he keeps fighting. It's not just about power or rank, it's about proving that even the weakest can stand at the top. Then suddenly he moves faster than anyone can see, dodging every attack and striking back with one final move that wins the duel. The entire crowd is shocked. The lowest ranked student just defeated the strongest in the school. But the victory comes with a cost. That final technique drains all of Ikki's energy and his body collapses from exhaustion. He can only use that move once a day, and now he's completely out of strength. After the duel, Stella is recovering when the school's head teacher comes to visit. She admits that it's been a long time since she's lost a match and asks why someone like Ikki, who's so strong, is still ranked at the very bottom. The teacher explains that blazers are ranked only by their magical ability, not by sword skills or physical strength. Since Ikki has no magic, the system doesn't accurately measure his true power. Even though he's incredibly skilled, he's still officially an F rank. Later, Stella visits Ikki while he's resting, and they agree to get along better. The next day, they start training together. Stella notices that Ikki seems a lot happier than usual and asks why. He tells her that his sister is starting school here and he hasn't seen her in years. Later in class, a new teacher named Yuri introduces herself. She also tells them about the upcoming 7-Star Sword Art Festival, where the school will select 6 of the strongest students to compete. During break, a girl runs up to Ikki and calls herself his biggest fan. Stella asks who she is, and Ikki says he has no idea. The girl introduces herself as Kagami and says she saw his duel with Stella. This makes Stella upset and she walks off. Ikki chases after her, but before he can catch up, he runs into his sister Shizuku. Without saying anything, she suddenly kisses him and says it's how foreigners greet their loved ones. Everyone around them is shocked, and Stella is clearly not okay with it. Stella and Shizuku start arguing. Shizuku asks what kind of relationship Stella and Ikki have. In the middle of the fight, Stella blurts out that she's his servant and he's her master. Everyone nearby hears this and totally misunderstands what's going on. Shizuku draws her sword, and the two girls start to fight. The school punishes both of them for causing a scene and sends them to detention. Even in detention, they keep arguing. Stella asks why Shizuku is so obsessed with her own brother. Shizuku finally says that Stella could never understand, and accidentally reveals that Ikki was ignored and mistreated by their entire family. Later, Shizuku moves into her new dorm and meets her roommate Alice. Meanwhile, Stella is still thinking about what she just learned and decides to ask Ikki if it's true. Stella finds Iki and asks if what Shizuku said about his family is true. Iki is surprised, but he admits it. He tells her that his family never accepted him because he was the only one born without magic. He shares a story from his past and asks if she knows about a legendary samurai named Ryoma Kurogane. She says she does, and that he was a hero who led Japan in the last World War. Iki tells her that Ryoma was his grandfather and the person he looks up to the most. He goes on to explain that his family has a long history of producing powerful blazers, but when they found out he had no magic, they abandoned him. He was treated like he didn't exist. One day, he ran away from home and got caught in a snowstorm in the mountains. He thought he was going to die until his grandfather appeared and saved him. Knowing that Iki had no magical ability, Ryoma trained him in swordsmanship instead. From that moment on, Iki made a promise to become strong like his grandfather. Even though he's grown so much, his family still refuses to acknowledge his strength. They even pressured the school to make sure he wouldn't graduate. The next day, Iki and Stella continue their training along with the rest of the school. They're joined by Shizuku and her new roommate Alice. Later, they all go shopping together at the mall. It's a little awkward, and no one talks much, but eventually they all sit down at a restaurant to eat. While Iki and Alice go to wash their hands, a group of armed terrorists suddenly appear and begin attacking the building. Using her shadow magic, Alice creates a portal and teleports both of them to the security office. They check the hidden cameras and see that Stella and Shizuku have been captured. Alice and Iki try to get help from a staff member at the front desk. She tells them the police are on the way and that the terrorists have surrounded the building. One of the gang members kicks a boy and aims a gun, but Stella steps in and saves him by activating her flame armor. Just then, the gang leader walks in and introduces himself as Bisho. He taunts Stella and demands that she take her clothes off if she wants to save the hostages. She reluctantly starts to do it, but Iki sees what's happening and tries to jump in. Alice stops him with a move called Shadowbind that completely freezes him in place. Alice tells him to trust his sister. Shizuku is quietly building a magical water barrier around the civilians. When it's ready, she activates it, forming a shield to protect everyone. The gang starts shooting, but the wall holds. Shizuku gives Iki a signal to move. Iki uses his skill called Ida Shura, which slows down time so he can analyze the situation. He dodges the bullets and moves in on the boss, removing his judgment ring and taking him down. But just when it seems over, another terrorist hidden among the hostages jumps out. Before she can act, a student named Kirihara appears and takes her out with his invisible ability. He's a blazer who competed in last year's 7-star Sword Art Festival, and now he'll be Iki's next opponent. The first day of the festival begins, and Iki is seen watching footage of Kirihara studying his fighting style. Stella notices and tells him that Kirihara's ability is called Area Invisible, which hides everything about him, including his appearance, sound, and even scent. But Iki stays calm and says he'll figure out a way to defeat him. Later, while out for a run, Iki runs into Alice, who asks if he knows who Kirihara really is. Iki explains that his family was once close with the former school director, but after he was born without magic, his family became ashamed. They didn't want his reputation to ruin their image, so they tried to have him expelled. To do that, they used Kirihara to bully him, hoping Iki would snap and get himself kicked out. But Iki never fought back. Now the two of them are finally about to face each other in an official match. Kirihara is introduced first, and he's clearly popular, but Iki isn't alone either. After his win against Stella, he's gained fans of his own. Iki's fighting style is based on situational analysis, but his opponent this time is a master of invisible magic. That makes Kirihara one of Iki's toughest opponents so far. The battle begins and the arena transforms into a digital forest filled with trees. Kirihara immediately activates his ability, turning himself invisible and launching his attack using a skill called Hunter Forest. He charges toward the source, hoping to find Kirihara, but Kirihara upgrades his magic, making the arrows invisible too. Now, Iki can't see or hear them before they hit. He starts getting hit again and again, frustration building as the crowd laughs, and the announcer mocks him for being a rank F. Students shout that he'll never win the tournament. Stella watches from the stands, remembering Iki's promise to find a way to win. Iki takes more arrows and falls to the ground. The crowd cheers for Kirihara, calling Iki the worst. Stella yells at everyone and begs Iki to stand up and prove them wrong. Her words reach him, and Iki thanks her. He starts recalling the timing and rhythm of Kirihara's attacks. By doing that, he's able to calculate where the next arrow will come from and counters it. The announcer realizes that Iki is using a skill called Blade Steel, which allows him to study and mimic other blazers' techniques. But this time he's using a more advanced form of it known as Perfect Vision. Iki turns the tables and becomes the hunter inside the forest. Kirihara makes one last desperate move, then drops to his knees, asking to be friends. Iki stops his final blow at the last second, but the energy he built up still causes a huge explosion. He manages to stop his blade just as it touches Kirihara's face. If you want to see what happens next and how Iki faces even tougher opponents, let me know in the comments and I'll cover part 2.